to the Burnt Hands Perspective.
Welcome back.
This is a very serious moment. Go ahead, say it. Start it off.
Welcome back to the Burnt Hands Perspective.
There it is. Very solid. This is my man, John. Me and John go way back. We're going to talk meat today.
We're talking meat.
We're talking meat.
One of my favorite topics.
But first, let me tell you something. John can cook now. See, that's why I like talking to him, because when I talk to him about meat, he knows what the fuck he's talking about, because he's talking. He comes from a cooking perspective, right? Not just a fucking salesman of meat or someone who's just trying to sell their product as the best. Any product he touches and works with is the best because he knows what a good product is. So I know I can always call John. I call John about stuff I don't even I know he doesn't even deal with. Hey, what do you know about this? Can you help me out with this? You got a guy for this? And typically it's yes. You know your meat. Dinner's dangling for you.
Dinner's dangling, brother. You got it right.
So we cooked together way back in the day. We're talking 20 years ago.
Well, 20, that's way longer than 20
26
years
ago.
26 years ago?
99?
You tried to stay younger,
99?
but yeah, that was 99. So again, 20, almost coming up on 26 years.
Yikes.
So a
If
little
we could
more than
squeeze
20.
6 years off it, I'm fine with that too, though. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
we want to make it 20.
Y'all just trying
I'll
to get
take
younger.
6 years.
I'm trying. I'm trying hard.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, John, so you have a really good Italian history back to you. You cook a lot of Italian food. You've always been around Italian people. You grew up that way. You're from Buffalo, New York, where the wings run wild. And, you know, we've even played hockey together. So we've had some time together in the day. But
I think we had a couple cocktails together at some point. Too.
once or twice.
Once or twice.
Yeah, we had one and then two.
The ones you can remember.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've had some good times. Now, bro, listen, you are now, give us a little background. I just gave you a little history with you in a very short term, but what is your history when it comes to cooking, transitioning over to the sales end of everything and being a purveyor? Give us your little lineup.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, my dad wanted me to get a job and work and make some money so he didn't have to pay for everything. So I started washing dishes at 13, man. That's how I broke into this whole thing, and then realized that wasn't the greatest path either. So just worked hard throughout and, you know, worked kitchens, ran kitchens, got up into the point where, you know, my best friend's dad worked in the sales side of the industry. I love the culinary aspect of it, but for me, I looked at it was like, you know what, I needed a more of a professional path to, you know, just to see what was available for me out there with my knowledge.
Right.
So I got into the sales side of thing in 2000 with a broker. A broker represents multiple manufacturers. We're out there running those goods and services out there to clients like yourself all around the DC, Baltimore, DC market.
That's a big market.
It's a huge market.
It's a huge market. And there's a lot of competition because there's a lot of people trying to sell that great product to that great market. So that gives you a lot of fighting there.
Well, it does, and you got a lot of regional chains there. You got a lot of national chains that are based there too. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of action. A lot of college, university. You know, I just kept working my way up, and then I got in the manufacturer side of things, and that's really where, you know, for me, where I can have most influence, knowledge, expertise, that sort of thing. So I bring my culinary aspect, which I'm still learning today. I mean, obviously, we were just talking about it, right? We're just talking about sauce. We're just talking about all those different things to continue to do. So I've been on the sales side of it, on the manufacturer side of it now for like 15 years. And really what I bring my contacts, and I bring ideas and products to guys like you and other people around the country, giving them expertise on what our products do. So now I work for a company called Pilot Trading. We import lamb and beef from Australia and New Zealand. Wow. Real high quality stuff.
Nice. So in order to do that, you have to first understand your own country's product, which you have. You have a lot of background in I've seen you grow from, like you said at the beginning of this, where you're dealing with a lot of chains and a lot of things like that, to where the product there is a little bit different. And then you progressed into more fine product, right? So now you're more of a professional and your expertise is more on the finer product that you're putting out there. You're not purveying garbage.
No.
We wouldn't be hanging out talking much if we were, because I'm not a garbage guy. You know what I mean? So neither are you. But so when you're talking about the veals and you know, now you're going to Australia, that's a good topic, because we're going to talk about a little bit. What I really want to talk about is how the meat market has changed so much in the last just decade because of the mass amount of people that we have to feed. You know, we're talking about everybody wants grass-fed or the natural or, you know, non-GMO or organic. And is it even fucking possible, to be honest with you, with the amount of people that need to eat meat daily? Think about one fucking town worth, right? What if we had one town and one farm to satisfy that town? That wouldn't even happen. You know how many fucking cows you need to satisfy 1,000 people on a normal day-to-day basis? So how do you produce this stuff, and how do people produce this stuff? Well, where do you go for this real meat that you want? how much of it really is out there? You know what I mean? As a chef, I can pick and choose my purveyor, but as a consumer, how the fuck do you know where this meat's coming from, man?
Well, I mean, you know, you got to read your labels, you got to read your packages, you got to do your research. I mean, just like everything else we do, when you go to the store and you look at the back of a cereal box or whatever it might be, what ingredients are in there? Well, I mean, you got to look at, you know, where's your meat coming from? You know, is it coming from Australia, New Zealand? Is it domestic? Is it coming from Uruguay? Is it coming from Brazil? I mean, it's, you know, we import here on beef and lamb and veal from so many different countries outside the United States.
More so than the United States, right?
Yeah, more so than the United States. Absolutely.
So we get more beef and veal from out of the country than we do within our own country.
I mean, it's close, man.
Close.
It's I mean, it's starting to get to the point where we can't keep up with domestic demand. Right. Herds are down. There's drought situations. You know, feed has gone up. So farmers are really reluctant to rebuild their herds because of the cost of everything.
Right. You said something to me smart, and it wasn't. It's made sense to me a lot, and it really opened my eyes a minute. You told me one time, maybe it was earlier, but you told me that you knew somebody who was in the beef game, and they ended up selling their farm and realizing they made more money. So go ahead, touch on that, because it starts at the farm.
Well, I mean, I think COVID had a huge influence on a lot of this, you know what I mean? And then you had drought conditions, and then you had, like we said, feed has gone up. So I think farmers are really starting to take a look at their business. They're looking at their family, they're looking at their kids. Do they want their kids to take this over? Most of the time, the kids don't want to take this over. So the family generational farm, it's a different era. It's a lot of work, and it's hard to make a lot of money on it. You know what I mean?
Kids just want instant gratification.
It's 100%. Well, it's not like us growing up where we would go out and bang out 2-3 jobs to make money all the time. Yeah. Now kids don't want to do it.
I used to ride a bicycle with a fucking lawnmower tied to the bike like fucking Napoleon Dynamite with a little He-Man out the back of the truck. I had a fucking lawnmower like that. Anything I could.
Well, I was shoveling driveways. I was cutting grass. I was delivering paper, whatever we could do, right, to make some cash. So really, farmers kind of took a look at like, okay, I own this amount of acreage, this amount of land. How much is this worth? Worth way more than what they're making, could make probably in 10 years.
Yeah.
So they look at it and say, you know what? I'm going to create some generational wealth for my family. I'm going to take a little break from the hard farming I've been doing for 30, 40, 50 years and sell off that land.
Right.
So that's kind of where that's at. I mean,
so with that being said, that's even taking away the percentage now of more meats being made here. So it's when you're going to New Zealand now that you work with New Zealand and you said Australia, right? So the farming practices, the laws, all that stuff, are they that much different from here?
So it's funny, we talk about regenerative farming. You got a lot of these smaller farms talking about regenerative farming now in the United States. So more land management, water runoff, fertilizers, those sort of things, grass-fed, grass-finished. You know, when you look at Australia and New Zealand, those are practices that they've had since the beginning. They never changed. They never went to that factory farming. So everything in Australia, for the most part, is grass-fed, grass-finished. Like 85% of that is grass-fed, grass-finished.
Because it's the only process they really know.
That's the only process they really know. So it's all pasture-raised. You know what I mean?
So it's not a matter of convenience. It's just a matter of ritual.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, absolutely. Where we're trying to get back and we're trying to tell stories of like, okay, this farm over here in the Midwest is really making sure that land management is a huge part of what they're doing. They're making sure they're not overworking the land and telling that story. Over there, they're not. So everything over there is antibiotic hormone free for the most part. Everything's certified halal now, which is amazing. The amount of halal meat that's coming.
And what is that for those who don't know? What is halal?
So halal is a slaughtering practice, and it's from Islamic. It's Islamic
rule, right?
Rule is really what it comes down to at the end of the day. So, you know, most of the meat coming in from Australia and New Zealand is all halal, and now more of that in the United States.
It's more of a humane practice, correct?
It is more of a humane practice. So, so they slaughter them, you know, facing Mecca and that whole thing. They go across the throat type deal. So they're not stunning. They're not doing any of that. It's definitely a more humane practice.
And not only that, they're not, when you slaughter like that, you're not, the animal doesn't have time to tense up.
To stress
It's
out.
more of a relaxing. It's going to cook better. It cooks more tender. Halal beef actually does cook better. Even ground beef, honestly, does come out a little bit. It renders differently. It has a much more.
Well, you're not shocking the animal,
right?
You know what I mean. And a lot of times here we're shocking the animal, and that really leads to that tensing of the muscles.
Right. And once it's tense, it doesn't release. I mean, those muscle fibers do this. It's hard to release. You know, it's almost like it's overcooked before you even cook the fucking thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Right.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
How would you, as a consumer, know that on packaging?
So now there are stamps on the you know, from a retail perspective. It will say if it's halal. So there's a halal certification.
Okay, yeah, because I haven't seen that anywhere. I mean, I guess in commercial, you know, for consumers.
You're going to start seeing it more and more. A year and a half ago, I'd get once a week. I'd get a call
Wow.
about halal meat. Now I'm getting 3, 4, 5 calls a day
So
for
it's
halal.
becoming
It's
the
really
next
it's
food.
really obvious to see the word halal and the way they spell it really looks like that Arabic with English.
Yeah.
It's got that font to it.
Yeah.
And it's usually in yellow writing and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, most things that are labeled halal, and there's a lot to it. I think you just don't realize it or look for it.
In
you know?
food service, it's going to be stamped on the outside of the box because it's not retail.
Yeah.
In retail, it's going to be on probably the back of the package by the ingredient deck or by the
Interesting.
almost like a nutritional fact.
Yeah.
exactly like gluten free or something along those lines. Same difference.
Exactly. And now when you say you came to me, and I'm not to cross professions for you, but when you came to me a couple years ago, we would talk, and you would bring me this beautiful veal from this American veal, this American great product, and that meat that you brought me was quality meat. It was really good, and it really had that American taste to it, that really fucking good Black Angusy, beefy protein that makes the rest of the dish taste good as well. Whatever that thing leaks into, when you have the protein juices coming out that some people consider blood when they call it red meat, the red's meat, it's still blood in it. I can see blood. There's no fucking blood, okay? So just stop saying there's blood in your meat. There's no blood. There's no veins. There's nothing in there carrying blood, okay? Right. So that's a protein that kind of leaks from the meat as the meat cooks. But that flavor of that rubbing against something else is delicious. And you can make a meat that's not so good quality, more of a GMO product, something like that. Then you can tell the difference, man. You can tell it. It's waxy. It tastes different.
I mean, it's like anything, man. It's like, if you get farm fresh vegetables around here and cook them in your restaurant, they're going to taste better because they're locally grown and sourced, and they're here, right? They didn't travel from across the country under a controlled environment, not picked at harvest. Same kind of thing with protein. Is it a low stress environment? Is it getting quality food? Is it being harvested in a way that, like, to your point, is juicy, is stress-free, like that? I mean, all those things play a huge role in the finished product.
And you have, let me tell you this, you can say anything on this show because that's what this show is all about. It's about the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? I'll be the ugly for most time. So so when you have to have seen some of these inhumane conditions that people are always talking about. Is it really that fucking bad? Or what?
It depends what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So the veal barns, and when I was working for Strauss, domestic veal, vertically integrated, controlling the whole process from A to Z. Yeah. What people don't realize, like in that situation, is that, veal male Holsteins are they're a byproduct of the dairy industry. So you have to birth male cows. Yeah. So you have to do something with it. So, in that process, taking care of that from A to Z is huge. Now, I've been to some chicken plants back in the day.
So hold on one second. We'll get to that fucking pigsty in a minute. That pig with feathers.
Chicken, you got to be careful.
Yeah, that's a different animal. We got to hold on to that one. So veal, you said it's a byproduct of the dairy industry. Most people don't understand this. When you have multiple male cows, it costs a farm a lot of money to live them for nothing. There's going to be too much competition for food for the other ones. Is that what you're getting at? Is that what you're saying? So when you have a male cow, typical good veal is a beef male, right?
It's a male cow. Yep.
It's a male cow.
Holstein. Yep.
And when you have so much cows already that you have to feed, take care of, there's nothing left.
Well, they're not producing milk. They're not going to make you any money.
They're not an asset.
Well, they're costing you money
at
the end of the day.
Yeah. And you only need so many steers to actually breed, like bull cows to actually.
And now
breed.
with genetics, they're getting where you can actually even drive it even more to have a really good idea of how many females you're gonna actually birth.
I was gonna say they even artificial insemination and breeding programs within that industry is the same as horse. I mean, they're breeding for performance and taste and size and so they're actually doing
so
that.
A lot of people will say, I hear it all the time. Yeah, the poor baby cow. Da 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 da. You're actually helping out a farmer and you're helping out a fellow person in America by buying veal because they have to do something with this calf
to make money off.
They have to do something. They have to survive. The calf has a duty. There's nothing they can do with it. They're not just going to let it free and roam the neighborhood. And what are you going to do with it?
When you look back at the 80s, and if people remember the commercials from the 80s with the PETA, and you have these little in a crate,
in the arms of an angel.
Honestly, then who would really want to eat that? I mean, you're like, wow, that's a really horrible situation. That's not what veal is today. Veal is today is a controlled environment in this barn that's basically has like a plastic floor to it that the atmosphere is completely controlled. They're getting milk fed. They're getting grain fed. I mean, they're living an unbelievably good life until, everybody meets their maker at the end of the day, right? That's one way to do it. So that's how Strauss did it. Strauss did it a very humane way. Now you have other producers out there that are actually harvest that animal within a week of being born because they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to raise them. They don't have the capacity to do it. So then you have Bob veal. So you really kind of have to know what you want to serve in your restaurant.
And Bob veal has become very popular amongst people who don't know what they're buying.
It's a lot cheaper.
And restaurants out there who are putting veal on their menu are using that type of veal. It hasn't even had time to develop yet,
right?
At all, to have a muscle structure.
No.
So 9 times out of 10, it's really tough because it hasn't had time to fucking massage out or anything. It's just, it's a tense little guy. I'm a huge fan of veal. I love veal. When prepared properly, it's good. When it's not prepared right, it's not, period.
Like anything.
But when veal is good and it's on, it's absolutely delicious. It's absolutely humane to eat because, there's no need to make this animal grow longer and struggle longer in a climate or condition that it doesn't need to be in. So if the farmer doesn't have access to make this thing have a decent life, at least make its life worthwhile by eating it deliciously.
Exactly. Right.
You know how good veal chop is with a little bit of rosemary, a little bit of fucking truffle.
I've had it here, man.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
That life was worth it, animal.
Well, that veal. What do you got? The veal chop Milanese on the menu.
Yeah, I got the Milanese right now. I have we have.
What's better than that? I mean, at the end of the day,
we got the saltimbocca, which is a traditional Roman dish. But I mean, that's it right there.
Yeah.
If I could be anything else other than me, I'd probably be a piece of veal.
You'd have a short life, but
it'd be short. I wouldn't have to worry.
It'd be
about
delicious
it,
though. You wouldn't have to worry about
right.
much. That's
right.
true.
I'd be pounded out.
Maybe that's the angle you were trying to go for.
Get pounded out, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta pound it.
I think he just wanted to be
before
pounded.
I think so too. I think that's what it is.
That just went.
That might be for another podcast.
Let's get to this fucking dirty bird.
Now
let's
get to the dirty bird. Let's
get to the dirty chicken.
It's been a while since I've been to a harvesting facility, but it is not the best.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not the best, especially when you look at the Eastern Shore of Virginia and Maryland.
Bro,
that's where a lot of
it smells better than it looks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
It looks better than it smells.
I think the other way around.
Well,
it's so bad. Those fucking skeleton birds fucking, they're so mass produced. Now that's where I worry about the GMO stuff. Not so much in the cows. A cow still has to grow. It still has to be an animal. It still has to develop bone structure and get big enough to carry meat and live a little while. So at least it's a living thing. I think a fucking chicken. And I love chicken, don't get me wrong. Chicken's one of my favorite meats, but I got to eat an organic good chicken.
Well, that's absolutely 100%. Let me tell you something. Being at the chicken farms that I've gone to on the Eastern Shore, and I've gone to in Midwest, that whole thing, I will tell you, I buy air-chilled chicken, like Bell and Evans type deal. I always
spend the extra money.
Spend the extra money. You can taste the difference.
And
I think you feel better when you eat that, too. It's just better for you. It's better for your family.
If chicken was a fish, it'd be a tilapia.
Yeah,
it would
it's the
definitely be a
tilapia meat.
That slimy,
Chicken is the tilapia of meat.
Slithering through the fucking field.
Yeah.
Gross.
Oh, dude, that is a great way to put it.
That's really good.
Chicken is the
commodity
tilapia
chicken
of
is the tilapia.
Yeah, so people, tilapia, see, if I can start anything, man, I'm trying to put a ban on tilapia. I hate it. I think it's the most disgusting, modified, fake food in the world. And when I go to a restaurant and literally people put it on their menu, I want to shake them and say, dude, do you even know what a tilapia is? First of all, for all you who don't know, it's not even a fish. Tilapia is not a breed of fish. It is a multiple breed of any crap fish that lives in the tilapia region. So it gains its name because tilapia is a region, and any fish that came from that region was called tilapia. So now they took the name on tilapia. And this tilapia is in this Pacific. It's disgusting. They fucking do it in sewage pits and all that stuff. They didn't raise them in sewage pits. These fish just evolved in them. Almost like when you find a pond with a bunch of frogs in it.
Yeah.
You don't know where the frogs came from. No one put them there. That's how this is. So rice paddies that are stagnant, sewage plants, these things in Southeast Asia and stuff like that where these type of fish live. So they took the name tilapia and put it on a breed of fish they genetically modified, and that fish really doesn't exist. The slime, it's just
looks like a carp almost. You know what I mean?
It's just disgusting, and it's that fish is made
feeder,
totally to give you. They're bottom feeders, but they're only eating the bottom of whatever cesspool that they're living in. And I'm totally against that shit.
Yeah.
I am totally 100%. Against it. And people say, oh, it's good. Good.
Well,
Good for you, yeah.
that is the funny
Go
thing.
get your
But
tilapia
I really
taco.
like tilapia.
Well, they still sell at the grocery store. They have like breaded to
It's the most sold and consumed fish
it is
in America.
And I
without
stopped
question.
eating it probably about 10 years ago because I
Thank you.
really didn't.
That's why
I
you're
mean,
still living life and feeling
okay.
good,
That's
and
it.
why you're
That's the
beautiful in
reason.
your age.
That's
and
the
we
reason,
aging
yeah.
good. Because if we were eating tilapia, dude, forget it. We'd be 60 years old.
I only ate it out of, again, it was cheap and it was protein. When I was training fitness wise, it's like just get as much cheap protein as you can, which was usually ends up being cheap chicken and cheap tilapia for most people who do like fitness shit back in the day. And then they realize that, you're eating all this and you feel terrible and you start to develop these like food sensitivities to those. So I couldn't eat chicken for years without getting sick. And now we buy all organic, everything is, whatever. And I'm fine eating it now. But if you eat too much of that and you're starting to feel sick, it's not because you're not, just spend $5 more and get the better food.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And the tilapia will make you sick if you eat too much of it. I don't care what anybody says.
It does. Over time, your body starts to reject it.
You
Ask
start
anyone
getting
in the
slimy.
fitness industry in the
You start getting
2000s.
slimy, slime ball. But stop eating that crap. So back to lamb. One of my favorite
We weren't
animals.
even on lamb yet, but let's get to it.
Let's get on lamb.
Let's get on lamb. Let's do it.
Yeah, right. We're not even on lamb yet.
Heck.
She did it.
Sorry, I had to do
That was
it.
perfect.
That was
Good
quick.
time. Good time.
So we have this lamb. I love lamb. I love cooking lamb. And the reason I like lamb is because it's a skilled meat to cook.
Yeah.
Okay. You can either really fucking make it amazing or it can turn your day into hell if you don't know what you're doing. Because somebody will cook the same cut absolutely amazing, and you can cut that same cut, cook it, and it comes out tough, chewy, greasy, oily, whatever. It all depends on your time and temperature and what you're doing with it and your understanding of how lamb cooks, and that each cut of lamb, each muscle on that animal is unlike any other animal besides a pig. Pork also has, their muscle groups are so different. You get the flavor out of a pork jowl is totally different than the bacon or totally different than the rump, right? Same thing with lamb. If you, depending on where you're eating, whether you're eating the shank or the roast or whatever it is, rack, you're getting totally different flavors. The rack is going to give you more of, if you cook that right on the grill, you're going to get more of a beefy type of texture, more of a beefy type of taste. Whereas if you're going to cut, the shank, you're going to get more of that lammy or the, that good,
little
gamey flavor.
Yeah, sure.
So no matter where you are on the lamb, you're going to have a different experience. So if you really know how to cook lamb right, you can get all kinds of different flavors. You can make sauces, ragouts, bologneses, stews, spezzatinos in Italian. We can do, oven roasts, slow cooks, sous vide. There's a million ways you can cook lamb. For me to find lamb, though, as a chef and a restaurant owner, is the hardest meat to find because it's so fucking expensive, or you're going to get the shit you can afford, and it's the tilapia on 4 feet. You see what I'm saying? So, are you getting a bad goat? You don't even know because it's that, you don't know. So in your experience, John, how about when you go, are you seeing the difference? The Colorado lamb, I think you turned me on to, the farmer back in the day. I'm still getting that product. And it is a domestic, huge lamb rack, and it's beautiful. Now, it's pricey, and it costs my customers money because it costs me money, and my profit margin is small. Yeah. But we're talking about a $65 menu item of pure luxury, right? This isn't something you're eating frugally or on a diet. This is something you're coming to eat to experience. And that product is delicious. Now, compared that Colorado private farmed meat that I get to a New Zealand or a New Zealand lamb where the rack shrinks down smaller.
Yeah. Or Australians are a little bigger too.
Right.
I think people come out to eat and will spend more money, like you're saying, for an expert like you or your team to cook something like that where they know they're going to cook it right every time and it's going to be delicious because it is finicky. It is a finicky meat. And you got to be really careful about, you got to pay attention to it. You can't walk away from it. No. You got to really dial into
once that temperature starts taking, because it's so lean, once you start taking temperature and the heat starts running through the meat, it's going to continue to grow until you stop it. It's not going to have, there's not like a lot of fats that will cool it down as it goes. Yeah. So is it the breed of a New Zealand lamb, I think people want to know this, or Australian lamb rather, a lot of people get their lamb from Australia, okay, or New Zealand. New Zealand's big. New Zealand's
both
big.
are big. It just, you know, it really comes down to flavor profile,
Right.
and it really comes down to sizing, like you're talking about.
Is the breed itself a smaller breed, or are they not letting them grow as big?
It is a smaller breed, and they aren't. You know, it just depends on the season because, you know, just like here we're talking about with beef, you know, you get droughts, you get all these other situations that you can't control. So it depends on the weather a lot, on when they're going to go to harvest. You know, it also goes like, where's the pricing on these things right now? So if they know that they can make more money on a larger animal, they're going to let them grow longer. So it really comes down to supply and demand also. You know, the grasses are different in New Zealand than Australia and here. So flavor profile wise, you know, and you get that big lanolin is really what gives that wool, really gives it that gamey flavor profile. So New Zealand is definitely going to have smaller lambs. Australia saw what was going on in the domestic market here, and they let their lambs grow bigger so that they could sell that bigger eye chop that you talk about, that rack you're talking about from Colorado. But here domestically, what you have is their grass, they eat grass, they finish on grain. So what happens is that it's more leaning towards beef. People, you know, here in the United States, they definitely like a domestic lamb a little bit more because it eats a more mild than a New Zealand or an Australia. New Zealand probably is the most pungent, and then Australia is definitely a like in between here in the domestic and imported.
Yep.
So if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it makes plenty of sense. So this is the educational stuff I like to have people listen to. There's a lot of people that have questions. What's the difference between New Zealand, Australian, domestic, American? To me, my favorite out of the three, and I can't say this because they all produce at. Let's talk about the highest levels, because every country produces the bottom levels, and they have their different levels as they go through, depending where you are. Let's talk about the highest levels. I'm still an American lamb guy at the highest level. You know, although New Zealand's got some really nice clean, and Australia to me is the least gamey. And then you got your New Zealand coming up, and then it goes into that's for me. Am I wrong in saying that?
No. I mean, listen, it's, you know, it gets very subjective too, right? Like in what you want to serve, what you like to eat. Some people like a gamier lamb. Some people don't. You know what I mean? It all depends on what you're looking for and what your expectations are, and really what your customers' expectations are.
Sure. Yeah, the gamey thing is what turns a lot of customers off, and some just aren't ready for it. Some people absolutely love it, depending on where you are in the world.
I think someone can come to a restaurant like this, though, a higher-end, fine dining restaurant, and have something a little more gamey with someone with your expertise, pairs those sauces,
right?
Pairs all that to make it this beautiful dining
experience.
Sure,
the game is part of it, and
it's
you have to enhance it.
Balance
You
it
do,
out.
And you have to balance it.
The best. I mean, one of your best lasagnas ever still was that lamb. I think it was tarragon and something else that was in
tarragon, roasted fennel.
Oh, the fennel.
That
Oh
was
my
good.
gosh.
Yeah,
Still, hands down to date, probably one of my top 3 dishes that he has made, because it was just the flavor on that was so insane that it was just like, it was stupid. I still remember that. That was that was like 10
years ago.
years
And I've tried to actually follow that again, and I couldn't because I forgot how I made it.
It was
But I was trying to go off memory. It's one of those things I
All
made.
right, well, we're going to try
I was
again.
in the zone,
okay?
you know what I mean? I had my, I was just in my zone,
gonna
and,
try.
and everything was hitting perfect.
It was.
I made that. I remember making that lasagna because I had a batch of fennel.
Yeah.
That was fresh, local. And the fennel was so fucking good
It was
that I made the
amazing.
lasagna for the fennel more so than the lamb.
It was
But the lamb actually worked so good with the whole dish. That was probably that could have won
Crazy.
awards for sure.
It was.
I
it
made the
was
lasagna
amazing.
because of the fennel. No one ever said that
No.
Never
in
in
the
their
world
life.
before. You're the first person ever said
That's right.
Ta-da.
That's awesome.
The roasted fennel was good, and I wanted a way to work it. And I made this lasagna, roasted lamb, and put that in the lasagna and everything, just to enhance this fennel. And the fennel was so fucking sweet, and I think that's what you don't realize the actual flavor in that was that sweet fennel. And
No,
can't
I
find that
realized
fucking
all the.
fennel.
I'm just saying that was one of the things that was different about
Yeah,
it, and
that
that's
was
why
good.
it stuck out in the memory.
That
'cause,
is
I mean,
the
I'm a
coolest
lamb
thing.
fan. Yeah,
That is the
so.
coolest thing about like cooking.
Yeah.
It's
About sourcing unbelievably great ingredients.
Yeah.
Is that
And
you
how they
take
can
something
change a
that's
whole
like
dish.
yeah, you take something that's not center of the plate. It's not the focus, but you make it the focus.
Yeah.
And then you've got this phenomenal dish that I mean
and people don't even know why.
that she's still talking about.
Yeah,
it's
it's
awesome.
great.
It's
so
And I
pretty
love
cool.
that. And so anytime that you have, like I call you for stuff. I mean, you've called me for a couple things here and there for tips and stuff, and it worked out both ways. Great. But you've turned me on to some great demi ways and some extractions of marrow. And there's a lot of things that you have knowledge in. And I think that the meat industry or whatever it is you're working with gives a huge benefit having you there. So anyone in the market who's out there listening wants the knowledge on meat. If you're purchasing, buying, where can they find you? Are you findable? Are you?
Yeah, of course I'm on. I mean, LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn. Yeah,
Okay.
you want to go to LinkedIn.
If they want to get a
What do
product
they
you
search?
represent, is that a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got national distribution. We import to the East Coast and the West Coast. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can connect through you. You can. I mean, I give my phone number if you want it. Like, give me a call. You know what I mean? Let's go. But we've got national distribution, so we work with all the major distributors in the United States, and then we work with the meat guys. So yeah, you can find me for sure.
And you're always on the quest to do better. I know that about you. And you're always on the quest to find the next. You want to surround yourself with quality.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing too is I'm lucky because I get to travel around the country. So I get to go to major cities and eat at great restaurants and experience phenomenal dishes like you're talking about, and then bring that back and bring a value to, like, when we having conversations like, oh, I ate at this place in Chicago, or I ate here. Here was something that happened. Like, I like to share that experience. I like to share that knowledge because it sparks imagination and sparks creativity for others too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I try to bring that expertise to it.
Well, listen, man, I'm fucking honored you're here. We love it. Great talking. I love talking about meat. All the meat sweats.
We all love meat.
So we need to make a T-shirt or something up that says fucking meat sweats or
Meat
something.
sweats. Let's do it.
Meat sweats.
How much meat do you eat?
We eat meat almost every day, man. We eat meat, whether chicken or beef or lamb. I mean, we're eating.
So you take them from your
almost every
people
day.
you work for. You just take samples and pretty much stuff your fucking
Do you
freezer.
get to, yeah, do you get to taste? But
not
do you,
like that.
you
I mean,
get to
I get
try
some of it
different
because I'm kind of the
things.
corporate chef too. So I mean, I absolutely work with the products. Like,
Okay.
next week I got a major presentation, like I was telling you. So I'm going to make a lamb ragu for next week. I'm going to make I'm going to make birria tacos. So I'm going to braise the lamb shoulder, shred it, all the spices, all the love, and then we're going to make birria tacos for everybody. So I like to expand it into so many different areas, Middle Eastern, whatever it might be.
And nothing sucks about anything you just said.
No.
Nothing sucks about the taste of any of it.
Except the fact that I won't be there eating it.
Except you,
With the
you're
ragu,
not
though,
delivering
bro.
it
Lamb
here.
ragu, that's my shit.
I know.
Lamb
I know.
ragu
It's one
is
of your.
so money.
It's amazing.
Shredded, roasted, all
Oh,
that
it's
stuff.
so good, man.
Yeah.
Little whip fat on top. That whole deal.
Because I eat
wrap. Yeah,
red
to wrap,
meat
that's
probably. I eat red meat probably
Twice
6
a day.
days a week, twice a day. I do. I
Do you?
eat nothing. I'm like 100%. And it's funny. A lot of the people, I mean, if you eat too much of this, I'm like, I know if it's quality, it doesn't affect you the same way with your
Right.
health. So take your blood work, change your diet, and see if you're eating quality meat. You can eat meat. I mean, I do. I probably eat red meat. I do eat it every day, if not twice a day, which is. Most people are like, no, dude, no. I just
dessert if you don't eat
that's
meat.
it.
Well, it's
That's
like
all I
anything.
do.
It's you want to eat quality. You want to eat quality. That's all that it comes out to
I
at the end
spend
of
a
the
lot
day.
of money on
Yeah.
on meat. That's I mean
We
I
do the
am
same.
good for it. So
do the
just
same,
spend
for
money
sure.
on the meat. That's the bottom line of
Spend the
today.
money on the meat.
Spend the get
No,
good
seriously. When you go to a restaurant, stop bitching about prices. It's not going backwards. Here's something else I like to end this with. Stop bitching about the fucking prices of food. Stop bitching that restaurants are jacking up their prices. Nobody wants to do this. We want more customers to come in and enjoy our food as much as possible. And we also know that it can only go so high where people can't afford to come out. So we're in the same boat as you. We need everyone to stop raising prices too, so we don't have to raise them on you. Unfortunately, we have to. If you want quality, if you want good stuff, if you want the education of the people cooking it, you have to pay for it. Don't skimp on paying for it.
Yeah.
Eating is one of the best fucking forms of entertainment there is. So just don't skimp on it. I mean, I understand people are on a budget. Don't get me wrong. Not everybody has the money to just go throw out. But every once in a while, go to a restaurant and treat yourself and don't bitch about the price. Celebrate the price because it's the only way you're going to fucking get it.
There's a lot that goes into it.
If you bitch about it, you're never going to get it. It's never going to go backwards. We're not changing. That's the way it is.
Be about it. Don't bitch about it.
That's right. All right,
likes
bet.
it.
That's it for now. Ciao for now.
Ciao.